Welcome to Happily Divorced with Karishma. Welcome back, friends. Today we're entering a conversation many of us were never allowed to have, that of anger. Not anger out there, but anger inside of us. Growing up in homes where rage was unsafe, most women learned to fear their own voice. Many became caretakers, martyrs, and peacekeepers. Then we walked into adulthood, emotionally underfed, overextended, and wondering why using our own voice feels unsafe. This episode explores why you fear anger, how lineage trained you to shrink, and what it takes to create safety within yourself so that anger becomes a signal, not a threat. Let's begin. Hello, friends. Welcome to Happily Divorced with Karishma, and I'm so glad to be here today. I want to share a topic that was explored during one of my Empowered Daisy meetings on Sunday. And this incredible group of women has come together really wanting to be empowered in themselves, choosing to break that old narrative and really show up differently for themselves, for their families, in their businesses, in their relationships, in their lives with their children. So I'm so excited to be on this journey with them and supporting them around this topic of empowerment. So I wanted to talk about one of the questions that one of the girls asked the other day, and it was around this topic of anger. And she said something along the lines of, Karishma, I get really uncomfortable in expressing for myself and advocating for myself, and I get really uncomfortable when it comes to speaking up, and I'm afraid of confrontation when it comes to my partner. And she was asking me what my thoughts were around that. It's interesting, I know exactly what that feels like. I probably walked around on eggshells for most of my marriage, and I never really felt safe to express all of me. And we fundamentally didn't see each other, and therefore we triggered the crap out of each other all the time. And every little thing, or what was said or not said, became this like mirroring to each other's unconscious and just triggering the crap out of each other, and just everyone feeling really wounded, really scared, really afraid. And that was most of my marriage. And so when she asked me this question, what I went into is, my first answer was that the reason that you're afraid of confronting your partner and getting this response of anger is because on some level you're actually afraid of your own anger. And I really want to go deep into this today. So I just want to draw context, and I want all of us to just think about our parents. And I guarantee in our parental dynamic, there was one parent that was specifically more hostile, more angry. And often we, generally, all of us, we're the recipient of some level of anger, some level of rage, some level of just being gone off on, and just, sometimes kids being kids and then having that mom or dad just raging on them, or in certain cases beating them, physically hurting them. And I know a lot of my peers, colleagues, clients have experienced that. It doesn't matter what their upbringing, their culture was. And so fundamentally, we are taught to be afraid of that rage, be afraid of that anger, because it feels unsafe. It feels unsafe. And if you kind of look back at that lineage line, I'm going to talk about lineage. For a lot of us, we're first, second generation. And those of us that were first, second generation in the US, we had parents that basically lived from a deep state of survival. In India, literally, if you don't get your stuff together and learn how to survive the masses, and I'll use the bus or train situation that comes to mind, there's like hundreds of thousands of people to get on a train at any given moment. If you don't get your stuff together and get your butt on the train, that train is leaving, literally and figuratively, right? And there's this deep rooted culture of survival, and if you don't show up and you do the work, you get left behind. And that survival mechanism on some level is what makes us successful in our entrepreneurship, in our career. We've got that DNA of that drive, and we're willing to take the action and do the discipline to create the work and to create the massive results. So we've got this deep lineage survival, which contributes to our success. If you think of the moms specifically, most of the moms that were the first or second generation were the only caretakers for the kids. And they didn't have that village aspect. And I know most of our generation did not have that village aspect, children being raised in the village. We were kind of taught, we basically did it on our own. And our parents did it on their own. And then add the moms, so they're the primary caretakers of the children, of which there are more than one. And on top of that, they're balancing a job/career. And so therefore having two full-time roles, and or they're wanting to have a job or a career, but not feeling like they can do it, not feeling like they have the ability, not feeling they have the confidence, not feeling they have the opportunity. So now you have this added layer of the women not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not feeling valued, feeling overextended, right? And then there's this lineage conditioning of being the martyr, being the one that shows up for everybody, takes care of everything, being the overly responsible one, all of that baggage. And on top of that, not having emotional needs met, because let's be honest, most men traditionally haven't had that strong upbringing of family members, parents, women, moms that have been emotionally connected. Therefore, you've got all of this overextendedness compiled with not feeling secure, not feeling safe, not feeling held, not feeling supported, not being able to take off that masculine energy and step into feminine and really relax and feel connected with the partners. And I'm talking about all these things because we end up becoming our parents. We end up taking on that same lineage pattern, the same cultural pattern. We end up becoming exactly like our parents, whether we like it or not, until some of us have the courage just to break that cycle and to create that inner freedom. First of all, I just wanted to normalize that anger, that rage, that martyrdom that our parents had, and say no wonder, it's not their fault. They're doing exactly what they were taught to do, and they didn't know any better. And therefore, if you also are a parent that ended up raging on your kids, it's okay. You didn't know any better. And I know for me, some of those times in my life where I probably felt the worst is when I raged at my children. And they would seemingly just be kids and I would just go off on them. Or my ex would just say something and I would go off on him. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't mean it, right? And you have this feeling of your foot in your mouth and you just feel so guilty and you feel so you've got shame and unworthiness and all this guilt because you went off on your kids and you didn't mean to. And it's that feeling, it just stings and it feels awful. And then you say, oh my God, my anger isn't safe. Me opening my mouth and raging at people makes them feel unsafe. My reaction is so big and explosive, it makes me feel unsafe. And now I'm going to walk around in eggshells and hold myself back, hold my voice back, because fundamentally I don't feel safe. And I just really want you to be with all of this and just think of how you've had those moments of explosiveness, and we all have those moments of explosiveness. And I just want to tell you it's completely okay. And I want you to think of a toddler, a child in their natural state. When they have a moment and they panic and they freak out and they're angry, they scream at the top of their lungs. That is our natural state. And as we become older and we look at our behavior and we look at what our behavior does to others and how the behavior makes us feel within ourselves, we stop expressing ourselves. We start holding ourselves back, and then we end up walking on eggshells. And because life shows us how we feel about ourselves, we end up bringing a partner in the mix that, oh my God, we don't feel safe to express ourselves because we were never safe to express ourselves within ourselves. And then the partner ends up just being there. So I just really wanted to take a breath and let all of that in, because this is a really, really kind of heavy podcast session, but really talk about just exploring within yourself of how and what situations you didn't feel safe within you to express who you are. Ways that you invalidated yourself from having feelings like anger, rage, shame, guilt, all these things. And I wanted to talk about what to do differently and how And what makes this better? So first of all, just recognizing that if we're unable to speak up in front of someone in our life, our partners, our spouses, parents, kids, all the things, it's because we've fundamentally shut our own voice down. And we've made it unsafe to be who we are. And here we have a beautiful opportunity of just honoring that part of us, instead of making ourselves wrong, be like, oh my God, it's okay. And I get to create this safety within myself right now. The second thing I wanted to talk about is like how to create that safety and specifically anger. So again, using that 5-year-old example of the toddler that is screaming their head off and having that temper tantrum, having that sadness, having the tears, the meltdown, recognizing like in our natural state, it's okay to feel those things. That we've told ourselves it's not okay to feel those things. We've made ourselves wrong for feeling those things. And what happens is the more we make it okay to feel our feelings, the less those feelings have to be so volatile and be so explosive. Because, and I want to use the example that's coming up, it's like all of us are human walking pressure cookers. And at some point, if we repeatedly put that lid on us, right, literally our lid on us, what happens is that pressure cooker will continue to cook and at some point will boil. And if it has no outlet, it will literally explode, flip off the top and like fly across the room, and everything will be a big mess because we haven't allowed ourselves to express how we feel. One of the biggest things when I've had clients talk to me, they're like, Karishma, you know, my relationship is struggling, or Karishma, my business is struggling, or Karishma, I'm lacking in confidence. One of the biggest things that I teach them is to learn how to connect within. So it's almost like we go from our head to our heart and just connect with our heart. And when things come up, when feelings come up, when emotions come up, to like start noticing how we feel, to start noticing what's happening in our bodies, to start making it okay to feel those big feelings. And you know, one of the biggest things that my clients have told me that has created so much freedom for them is basically asking for permission to say, you know what, is it okay, Karishma, for me to be angry? Is it okay, Karishma, for me to be sad? And I say, you know what, go be sad. Go have an amazing cry in the shower, or go in your car, go drive a mile away and just scream out everything that you're feeling, because it needs to come out. And what happens is the more that you make it okay to feel your feelings, to feel your sadness, to feel your anger, to feel all of you. So what happens, the more you make it okay to express how you feel, now your sadness can just be sadness. Your sadness doesn't have to be bottled up sadness, which ends up being diagnosed as depression. Your anger can just be anger. It doesn't have to be the explosive kind of anger that makes people run away from you, where you get scared of what's about to come out of your mouth. Feel your fear and make it okay to feel your fear. Now that fear doesn't have to be massive anxiety that results in popping anxiety pills. And if you do any of those things, it's completely okay for you to get the help that you need. But what I'm exploring here is another way to make it safe for you to feel all your feelings, where now those big feelings don't become explosive feelings, and now you can just be safe in being you. And one of the biggest things that I realized, and it took me this journey post-divorce, is I wasn't safe in being myself. I wasn't safe in expressing myself. I used to think it was someone else, but it had everything to do with allowing myself to feel my feelings within me, express within me, and allow myself that safety to feel my feelings, to have the cries, to have the screams, to have the tears of fear, and allowing myself to be okay with me as I am. And that shift within myself has allowed me to embody a confidence and safety within myself. And what happens as a result of that is, because now, instead of me seeking out safety from my partner, or safety from my kids, or safety from someone else, it's like I get to take that pressure off of them validating me and holding me and all of that. I can do that for me. And now that relationship can transform from a place of I need you to make me feel better, to like I get to make me feel better, and I allow myself to soften into you. I allow myself to be okay in my feminine because I don't have that raw that shows up all the time. There are times I have the raw and I have to make it okay for me to have the raw. And, in just a spirit of transparency and vulnerability, the last few weeks I've had a lot of raw and I'm owning it. And, for me, that anger today has shifted from something from the outside to something within the inside. And, here I am the week after Thanksgiving break. These last few weeks have been really busy. And with just normal activity in my coaching business, with this Empowered They See group coming together, with me meeting more people than I probably ever have in the last few years in my life, just getting out of my comfort zone on top of that, having holidays, co-parenting, merging two families together, kids together. I mean, there's just been a lot on my plate recently, and I've been finding myself in that raw mode more. Why? Because on some level, I need that time and space. And I've been taking it as to the best of my ability, but sometimes schedules, life, kids' schedules don't allow that fully. But for me, when I have that anger and that raw, it's an invitation for me to slow down and look within myself and be like, Karishma, how are you not meeting your own needs? What do you need to do for you? And for me, it's not a big thing. It's not like getting a massage or whatever. It's like little things of softening into myself. It's taking quiet space when I can. It's like on Saturday, I was supposed to talk to 4 girlfriends. On Saturday, I ended up talking to one, realizing that I had that feeling of like, I just kind of need my alone time and quiet time. And the kids were in and out of the house doing things with them. But like, instead of having all 4 phone calls, having one, and just spreading those calls throughout the week, where instead of giving up all of my free time and all of my energy focus to everyone else, I was able to start just filling up my own bucket 1 minute at a time. And it's just recognizing like, what needs do I have and how do I just fill my needs even more today? And my old go-to was to just find things to fill that void, to be perpetually busy. But now it's become where I don't have a choice. When I stay in that nonstop busy mode, my insides are just like begging for me to slow down and to honor myself. And so what I would invite you to do is just to put everything through this filter of peace, and ask yourself, is this going to feel more peaceful or less peaceful? Is this going to honor me or take me away from my needs? And I'm not talking about your needs, the kids' needs, the spouse's needs, the parents' needs. I'm not talking about all the labels and roles that we play, but is this going to really fill up my bucket? Because my bucket, when it's empty, doesn't allow me to show up in the way that I want. And when life is offering me beautiful gifts and opportunities, I can't fully receive the magnitude of that because I'm depleted. So when that anger comes up now, use that anger as a sign and ask yourself, what am I angry about? And that surface answer is always going to be about them. And then ask yourself, what am I really angry about? And it's probably something along the lines like, I don't feel loved, I don't feel respected, I don't feel supported, I don't feel needed, whatever. And then ask yourself, how do I give that need that I have from the other? And how do I fulfill my need from the inside? And that, my friends, is what empowerment looks like, where we stop blaming the world, the universe, and everybody else for doing or not doing what we want them to do. But we start taking our power back, and we start giving to ourselves everything that we want from the inside out. So I hope you found that helpful. And I would love to hear from you what that looks like. So feel free to drop a comment below or shoot me a message on Facebook and just reach out and just tell me your experience on this podcast, what resonated. And if you love what you heard, share with a friend. And if you feel called to connect with me about the Empowered They See community, go ahead and reach out. I can't wait to hear from you. Have a great day. Bye.